So up on top of the tank, we basically have the flex hose coming in. Just some old fabric. Seemed like a good cheap filter material. You can run it through the wash a few times. And I just basically took a metal extension cord wrap tie. It's like an oversized, see if I can find it here, because it's a material you can buy at a Lowe's or Home Depot. It's basically a little wire tie. It's rubberized on the outside and it has a metal inside so that it holds its shape. Wrapped it around so that this sock wouldn't get sucked through. Then I pull that over. This little flex hose here is stuffed in alongside of it, because when this gets completely soaked and this tank builds up pressure, it creates kind of a seal. So you need it to breathe so that the water can actually flow into the tank. And that's that basic setup. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of regular old cheap store brand bleach. Here I have the old jug, empty one. And what I'll do, I'm not really particular about this. I will go ahead and take just a little bit and put it in there. You know, quarter cup or so. Not a lot. I don't want so much that it changes the smell of the water or whatever. And then I will fill the bottle up. By the way, this is water that's actually coming out of the tank. And we'll go ahead and fill this puppy up to almost the top. Pretty close. Get us about, you know, it helps to dilute it all, you know, and then you pour it down into the drain there where the clean out is. And go pour that outside. So you'll see out here we got the tank. I left kind of an area there open so I can see the level of the tank. All that black is just basic spray paint. You could probably use asphalt sealer or something. I ended up putting that duct tape on there because the water seemed to be flowing out of the bottom of this screen. So we pour our bleachy solution in there. And you'll see that's just a screen. It's a filter from the downspout. And what we've got here is a metal roof. The whole roof is metal, right? So that drains down into this. Okay, so we're in an environment here where stuff gets really cold. So you'll see that I have these heat tapes, which is this flexible stuff. It actually keeps the pipes from freezing. So that's what all this nasty looking pipe insulation and duct tape and all that is. But basically in here, you've got a fitting attached to the tank. And this is just the valve. Nothing leaks. Having this heat tape wrapped around it keeps it just warm enough in the winter so that it doesn't freeze. And the tank is so massive that it really has to get down to single digits for a period of time before you get to the point where you even have ice that won't let you push in on the tank. But basically that's the back side of it. This pipe actually runs in through the wall, and I'll show you the connection on there next. So here we have a platform. This entire thing's built like a park bench, right? Because initially when I built this was built effectively into a doorway right here that I plan to cut to an addition that has yet to be built. So what we have coming from outside is, here's the pipe that's coming off the tank. This is a check valve. So basically when this pump builds up pressure, this check valve closes so it never goes backwards into the tank. This is your standard well pump. It's got your pressure switch, and I don't know what size the tank they included with it, but this assembly right here I ordered online from, I believe it was Harbor Freight. Not super expensive, $100 and some, and it gives you everything you really need to make this work on the pressure side. Now, that is probably going to give you just, I don't know, maybe a gallon of water between the pump kicking on and kicking off. And I was like, I don't want it to kick on every single time, because when I initially set this system up, I was completely off grid and I had to run everything off of a generator. And so there was going to be times I was going to flush the toilet or use the sink when the generator wasn't running. And so I didn't want to have a point there where I didn't have any water. So what I added was this big pressure tank. And that big pressure tank fills up when this kicks on. And when it hits a certain pressure between all of the pipes and tanks, this switch right here turns off the pump. So coming out of the top of the pump, we go into this filter housing, into another filter housing, into the pressure tank, which then comes straight back up. It goes into this ultraviolet water sterilizer, which plugs into the wall. It actually has a glass tube inside of it, and there is an ultraviolet light that basically kills pretty much everything. If there was any kind of microbes or bacteria or whatever, it would kill them. So then coming out of that, because it flows into it, flows through it, flows back out of it, and then it goes through the wall. And then once it goes through the wall, it connects to the other piping that's out there that feeds the main for the entire building. One of the things that ties into the cold side is the hot water tank. Not a very big one, but it does the job for me. You got cold coming in, the blue, hot going back out, the red, and then that hot feeds the hot water for everything. So as far as the filters go, I initially had two different types of filter, right? And when we have, we're in the winter time right now. And so the roof is clean and the gutters are clean and there's nothing falling out of the trees. So when I get into the summertime, in the spring, when there's pollen, in the summertime, when, you know, we get a lot of storms and the trees have a lot of growth up high, they start to fall on the roof, they end up in the gutter. And until I clean the trees back away from the building here, I end up putting a higher micron filter in this housing. Now, that is actually the water that is coming out of the tank before it's filtered. So this is what happens when you add a little bit of chlorine to it, just like I did just a bit ago. And then you have that filter sock that comes down off the roof. Now, in the downspout, you saw there was ribs in there. A lot of the bigger leaves and debris will fall out of that. Anything else will go through that piece of fabric, which is not much more than, I think it's an old blanket, or it might be a sheet or something I had. I just double wrapped it and sunk it through the top. So the water flows down, drips through that into the tank. This is how it comes out of the tank. So basically it's coming through here, being pressurized, and then it goes through this filter. This filter is your basic run-of-the-mill 5 micron carbon filter. This is something I bought off of Amazon. And obviously it says reduces chlorine. But anyway, so they say it lasts about 6 months, give or take. I believe this filter I changed probably in November. It's now March. So I buy these in 2-packs. They're not super expensive. It's still way cheaper than the water bill I used to have in my old house. And they even give you, when you buy these filter housings, they give you these cute little reminder things that flash to tell you when you're supposed to, you push the button to reset it, it blinks when it's due to be changed. So I guess I need to change the filter, but it's just me. I don't use a whole bunch of water. But anyway, and I also purchased chlorine tablets. I tried this out. This is supposed to be for swimming pools, whatever. I mean, it ended up being that it was just easier to just use a gallon of bleach and, you know, dump a little in. It ended up being quite a bit cheaper. Those are like a slow release. So I actually don't think everything that's in them is chlorine. And obviously, you can probably tell where these things were made, where they came from. So can't necessarily trust what's in it. So I stopped using that. I'll just get generic bleach. But anyway, so there's that. So after a whole ton of research, I came up with this being the DIY way to save me from having to immediately drill a well out here at my place. And the roof that's on this building, on that side, because I only have that one gutter connected to this, and it seems to generate plenty enough water, just for me. I'm just here by myself. It is, I believe it's 50. The metal roof that drains into that is a 50 by 22. So, I mean, if you can go 50 times 22 to figure out how many square feet that is, you can go and actually look up the average rainfall for your area. And it will, there's a calculator for rainfall, inches per year average, and how many gallons per year or month that you'll create from that. But as you can see, the water, this is out of the water heater, so it's probably a little, the water coming out is pretty decent. So what I do if I'm going to drink this, because even coming through the tank, it actually tastes pretty decent. But what I'll do is I'll actually run that through a Brita pitcher. Not that it matters. I'm probably being overkill with all these filters and stuff, but I don't want to end up sick, right? But it's got to beat what they have in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine, Ohio. Although this system in East Palestine, Ohio probably wouldn't have done us a whole lot of favors in the last couple months. Anyway, so that's what I got. So that's how you create your own rainwater collection, potable water system. And if you got any questions, comments, put them below, and I'll talk to you later. So hopefully you got something out of this and found this useful. If so, subscribe, like, shoot me a comment if you have any questions, and have a good one.